Welcome back, everybody, to the analyst desk as we are hopping into game number 1, picks and bans here along for the ride. The pick and ban wizard here himself. It is Stingman. Stingus from Who flashed that fight, and Stingus taking an important look at these bans, particularly the third one. They didn't do it. They didn't do it.
Interesting.
They didn't do it.
They did take out both enchanters, and they took the best one. This is going to be a fun one. They might be trying to say, we can do it better than you.
Yeah, maybe Sparta Prime takes away both of those enchanters that Stingus mentioned here. The Karma and the Lulu were vital to AOE God Squad in their Week 9 matchup against Who flashed that fight, and have been a staple of their composition thus far to buff up that Xin Zhao, which we do see selected. And there, of course, is Runeweaver's Talia, back fresh from the LAN at St. Louis Gateway Legends. Runeweaver, no more random capitals. He's going to get on his comfort pick here in game number 1. That is quite early, though, to be taking a Talia here, Stingus.
That is very interesting, especially when there's other options I know AOE wants. Talia's not contested. You can take it on 3, and that's totally fine. This will be interesting. Okay. Seraphine Olaf, really good team fight combo. Sparta Prime definitely wants another melee champion or 2 here. Makes Seraphine so much more value.
Yeah, get up in their faces, get the damage and the ulti over the top, I would imagine. And Olaf here is one that we had Finnick mentioning on our pre-show. Of course, Muscle has been piloting this champion to great success so far this season. I believe it is tied for his most played. It has a 100% win rate, I believe, at the moment. And there is the Leona as well. This has been a strong pick for actually AOE. Kenny Masterlin has played this 3 times, so that will be taken away from him, but it does give some extra lockdown to help with any sort of engage, and be useful for someone like a Talia who kind of wants to sit back there hitting that artillery. Stingus, what do you think they're going to round out with here on the side of AOE? They need to match something.
They really should be taking Varus here.
Okay,
they're
that's
going
not
for
Varus.
Tristana instead. Don't really know why you'd want to do that. That's not a very good matchup into what you're killing. Like, who's Trist hitting in these team fights? Leona and Olaf. That's not really what you pick Tristana for. She kills squishy. She doesn't really kill tanks.
So
Not
Tristana,
really what I would go for. And then the Samira ban, which doesn't really make sense. You pick Tristana as a Samira counter.
couple of maybe fumbles here in the draft from AOE God Squad, as we do see that Tristana come in despite the virus being available. Samira is taken away. Of course, Tristana is a counter, but this is just a huge comfort pick from Boost. He's popped off on this 3 different times this season, so maybe they just don't want to see it regardless. I guess the counter matchup maybe is not enough sometimes here. Stingus instead they got to kind of double pile on here. We see the Silas and the Thresh now taken away, and now the critical R4 pick here for AOE God Squad. Should they be looking for a top laner, or should they be picking support here?
I think they want to pick top here. Bot lane matchup is way too important this set. They want a winning 2v2, and they're making themselves have a losing 2v2. Okay.
Yeah, the Taric Tristana, I have almost never seen that combination here. I know that Taric was just buffed. I think his mana cost going down, and a lot of people saying he is kind of a crazy support at the moment, but Tristana, not typically someone I would expect him to be partnered with. Yeah, it's got the little jump, but that kind of reposition is way more committal.
That makes even less sense of why they didn't take Varus. Varus is way better with Taric. But the Taric does make a lot of sense with the Xin. Xin and Taric is really, really frustrating to fight against. By the time Zin's ult's down, the Taric ult drops on him, and he's still invulnerable.
That is a very good point there, Stingus. That could be an interesting combination, but it does seem like the kind of thing that requires a lot of execution and practice. So we'll see if they can get that timing right, and if we can sort of see maybe this is a substitute for the Karma Lulu, right, that have been taken away a bit from Mel Scout here on AOE. The Ezreal set going to round out the draft here for Sparta Prime, so unfortunately not going to get to see Boost maybe go super ham in the laning phase like we were prefacing. Oh, but speaking of going ham, Camille is the final pick here in the top lane for Andesu. That's into a set I don't exactly know how the matchup should go, because
that's
we haven't
very
seen Camille in a while,
disrespectful.
but I was going to say, I feel like Set should win that.
Set bodies Camille until 2 items. Like, I get why they're picking the Camille. They're picking it to lock Ezreal down. That's the goal. They're trying to make it so Ezreal can't go anywhere. Well, you have to get there.
You do have to get there. And you lock him down. I mean, there's still an Olaf to contend with here, right? That's just going to be jumping on your backline. So it seems like it could be a difficult scenario. And Stingus, now that we do see kind of the full drafts here, maybe walk us through kind of the win conditions. You're talking about locking down the Ezreal here. How does AOE God Squad want to play this game? Is that the full focus? Are they looking to split push? Or is this a team fighting comp that's trying to just assassinate the AD carry?
I gotta say, Sparta Prime won this draft so hard. This is such a hard draft gap. This is really rough. AOE has to really outplay to win this game. They drafted really strong early mid 2v2 on AOE side. And then they matched that with scaling Taric, scaling Camille. So no one on your team wants to fight at the same time. Your mid, jungle, and AD want to fight early mid game a lot. And then your top and support they need 35 minutes. Their comp is just very, very disjointed. It doesn't make a lot of sense. Whereas Sparta Prime's comp, 4 go-in champions and Ezreal. That's fine. Ezreal is a pretty normal matchup as into like Xin and Talia because they want to just get on you and you have a lot of escape tools to get away. I don't really see how AoE's ever going to kill Ezreal unless he like ints. He's really got to miss position to lose these fights.
Right, because even if Camille jumps on him, right, if the Camille's not fed, it's not like you get one shot. You still have a chance to get out of that, and the follow-up does have to come through. Sure, there's a Taric ulti, but kind of like you were saying, who can really follow up here on Camille's engage? Jhin can flash in probably, but nobody else really can, so it does seem like this is, at the very least, going to be very difficult to execute here for AOE God Squad, and that will sort of be the question is, can they kind of find a way sort of around these sort of draft issues, maybe the disjointed composition, and find a win condition? If they do have a win condition, Stingus, what would it be in this case?
They really need their mid jungle to like hard win the 2v2 and roam around the map. They got to exploit these side lanes together. I think that's the goal of their comp. It's just really, really hard to pull off in practice.
And it seems particularly hard against the Seraphine that can kind of just sit at range in a set who is about as tanky as you could possibly be. Stingus's cat, for those who don't know, also named Set, and just like the champion, they are chunky boys, baby. They are very strong. They are hard to take down, so it will be a tough task here for AOE, but we have seen them try to pull things like this off in the past. The question is, can they do it now that all the cards are on the table, that all of the games matter? Everybody knows that regular season games, as important as they are to get into playoffs, it's not quite the same as the playoffs, baby. You gotta show up now. You gotta put your all on the table. And I think AOE God Squad have dealt themselves a bit of a difficult hand. That said, I believe they can deliver. Will just be hard. Stingus, I know I've kind of heard it from you, but let's get your prediction on this game before we wrap this one up and throw it to break.
I think Sparta Prime is going to smash the early game. They got Set, Olaf, and Leona. They're going in. They're going forward. I think they're going to run away with this one.
All right, we heard it here. Draft gap for Sparta Prime and a prediction for them for game one. I am actually going to join Stingus in that prediction because I think this comp is very, very good as well. And I think that Muscle, in particular, after what we've seen, is going to have a very good time with this Seraphine next to him. So I'm excited to see it, but we'll see if AOE has what it takes to overturn what we perceive as a draft gap here in game number one, which will be coming at you in just a couple minutes. So stick around for the beginning of the Excellency Heavy League playoffs.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Summoner's Rift. It is time at last. Excellency Heavy League playoffs are underway. I am Necrox, joined by the one and only DJ, ready to bring you the action between Sparta Prime and AOE God Squad.
It's finally here, Necrox. It is time for the playoffs, and I could not be more excited for this matchup. These two teams have shown a lot of promise through the regular season, a lot of skilled players across the Rift, and we know how excited the quarterfinals were last year. I'm hoping we get something just like that this time around.
Yeah, last year at this point, we were talking, well, not last year, last season at this point, it's been a while, we were talking about an unfortunate exit for a Lotus, but don't have to worry about that one now. They've earned themselves a bye into the semifinals, and Sparta Prime AOE looking to get their eyes on that prize, a ticket to semis. For now, it's a level 1 setup in a bush for Sightstone Muscle and Boost, making sure Paxax does not walk the cheater way to this lane. Shouldn't have to do that considering their jungler is starting top side, but you need to worry about, hey, when are you going to start your jungle clear? It's probably going to be a late invade, though, for Muscle.
Yeah, looks like they do want to late invade, and there's really nothing to stop them here at all. Ward going to be dropped by Paxax, so they will know that this buff is taken away. Likely just going to be some cross-mapping going on, so keep your eyes on the pathing of Melscout after he does finish up this camp. One thing to note, though, Andesu did have to help him with the clear, so he'll be late to lane, and that's something that top laners in particular usually do not like very much, especially in a matchup like this one on Camille. Usually wants to dominate the lane at level 2 when that hook shot does become available. Whether you can do that or not into set, I'm not so sure, but the early trading looks like it's going just fine.
Yeah, getting the passive there for Andesu, making sure his health bar does not go too low, considering he's taking the Doran's Blade to all in on this lane threat versus the D-Shield, which pairs quite nicely with the set passive, getting that extra sustain in just time. Level 2 is in, though. Flash stun in the bot lane. Here we go. Dazzle only gonna connect onto Sightstone, but Paxax in level 2 is gonna rocket jump away. Kenny now taking the bad end of the trade, but Boost and Sightstone off to an early and aggressive start.
Yeah, nice stuff from Sightstone. Just kind of a classic level 2 trade coming in. And oh, that might be an overstep from Kenny. There's no jungler around. Ignite's going to proc. Is it enough? Taric does so much damage in the early game.
Heal gonna come through. It's first blood to Paxax, traded right back by Boost. Now using the arcane shift for just a little bit of extra damage. Has a flash Q, but it will not land as Paxax using a flash of his own to evade. But bot lane, baby, we're already in it. The top tier matchup we all wanted, and it's going swimmingly.
Good God, I was so surprised there. I just couldn't shut up for a second, Necrox. I was thinking, how is this going to work out for them? And it does because of the Taric, the swift autos, the 3 strikes that come out from your passive there. This champion has been buffed in recent patches. It is rising in priority. Maybe we see why a little bit there. Even with the bad level 2 trade, he's able to actually get first blood over onto Paxax with the Ignite and the all-in. Yes, Boost gets it back, but it's just some extra gold for your AD carry. Nicely done here by the AOE bottom lane.
I already got blood pumping through my veins looking at this bot lane 2v2 pop off. Nice haymaker there from Woohoo into the top lane, taking Andesu down to about half HP. We'll have to use that pot to make sure he is not any gank threat, but little does he know, Muscle is on the bot side of the map. This split map effort here from Muscle, really making sure he gets around this bot side, maybe thinking about a cheeky play. Here we go, Sightstone in an angle, seeing his blade gonna connect, but Kenny still had his flash from the earlier 2v2, and here comes a return angle from AOE. It's in the mid lane, Seraphine ain't singing much longer. Rune Weaver throwing another rock in the back of this Star Stud.
Nicely done there by Melscout, but honestly, it's just a timing error from Stop Amy. He flashes too late. The third auto had already procced. The animation was in, so Melscout gets the knockup, and that confirms the kill. If that flash is timed right, I do think Stop Amy can stay alive there and actually not give over that kill. Fortunately, the TP still available, so won't miss too much, but Melscout's just right back here in the mid lane, trying to do what he was doing last week and really playing for his laners in this early game. We heard Stinkus talk about it on the desk. He wants this 2v2 from the mid jungle to really pop off and start roaming around the map for AOE, and it looks like Melscout has the same idea.
Melscout thinking about doing something here, but instead will just return back to farming, and we talked about it a lot, and having the input from these top tier players like Stingus, like JBL, they were right on the nose. Muscle straight back to farming. Paxax, though, maybe in a little bit of trouble. The stun is going to land on the Kenny Master Lin. They know he has no flash. There's no escape route for this bot lane. And AoE may just be fallen. And Sparta Prime may just get one more. 2 kills already onto Kenny. And Paxax has to jump away. Muscle grabbing himself a kill.
Yeah, Muscle making the first big play here in the bottom side. He knows the flash is down. He gets his return gank in, and he evens up the kill count and also gets onto the first Drake here for free. He's going to lose a couple camps for it as he left 2 up in his top side jungle. Axe?
Whoa, that's not where you want to be. Exhaust is a pretty good summoner spell, and if you're not timing it, what are you doing? Paxax, that looked like Malphite more than Tristana, but there may be a dive going on top side. Woohyun getting cut off. Here comes the mid lane, the Weaver's Wall. The damage is true, and Desu will not fall either. AOE get one back and tie it up 3-3.
Yep, chaos across the map at the 6-minute mark, but this is exactly what we wanted from AOE. Runeweaver with the advantage he gained from the Mel Scout gank. He ticks level 6, and immediately he is up in the top side to spread that lead to Andesu. Beautiful stuff there from AOE, and look at the difference it's making here. 2-0 already is Runeweaver. 20 CS lead in the top lane for Andesu. Things are going very well for them at the moment. 400 gold lead here, and they are doing exactly what they need to have a winning composition through this draft that we criticized, right? We were very critical of this draft. Not everyone agrees with us here. Actually, the coach, of course, here today, Starling, in chat talking about how this is a winning draft from AOE, and he's the coach of the current reigning champions here of Heavy League. So we'll have to see if he and AOE know something we don't, because right now it's working very well for them.
Well, what I know for sure, DJ, is Runeweaver's Talia is pretty good, and he got it throughout this draft, and he is now 2-0-0 on it with a 200 gold bounty to boot. Already picking up the Lost Chapter plus the Sork boots for a little bit of extra magic penetration to make sure he's doing as much damage as possible in this early game. And this is what the power of Talia mid can provide. Not only having effective wave clear, but also being able to access side lanes with the Weaver's Wall. Showing up top lane, dropping out Woohyun away from this 1v1. Dropping a huge wave there as well. So Woohyun pretty far down now in this 1v1 against Andesu. And the Camille, we already know, is a huge win condition come the later stages of this game. As Woo's hopping forward, making sure this wave crashes. Shouldn't be an issue though. Tristana pretty hard to hold a freeze on.
Yeah, fairly hard. She can just push that one away from you, but I'm honestly a little surprised we have this much action in the bottom lane, particularly when you kind of want to sit on the Ezreal, but we have more action here. This time it's topside, and Desu.
And Desu trying to make it a 1v1, but the Hextech ultimatum doesn't get him out in time. Here comes a showstopper, Woohyun. Gonna not get charmed up. Stop Amy making the extended range off his teammate, but it's not in time. Now he's on the run with 3-man chasing him down. AOE will run this Seraphine out of town, and Runeweaver's on a rampage.
This is the classic Runeweaver Talia here. He's got the Ghost and Necrox, the Ghost Flash to make sure he gets the positioning right on his Qs, and he cannot be stopped there as he runs down Stop Amy. Everything is coming up AOE here in the early game. At the moment, they win the 3v3 on the top side, despite Stop Amy's ultimate coming out there late. They take Muscle down, they take down Woohyun, and things are looking great for this team. They're down one objective, but honestly, this Drake in 2 minutes could easily be theirs if they want it to be, as they have full run of the map and a Rift Herald in their jungler's pockets. He's potentially looking to drop this one mid for his already extremely fed mid laner here in Runeweaver.
Yeah, you want to carry. It's Runeweaver on this Talia. Certainly pop this Rift Herald just down in a second. There you go. Make sure this turret plate falls, and the 2,000 true damage, or a little bit more than that, will knock down a couple more plates. And look, Mel Scout getting paid, Talia's getting paid, and AOE cashing those checks in nice and early as we head towards this mid-game, DJ. Not even 10 minutes in so far, and we already have 9 kills on the board. A 3,000 gold lead, just short of for AOE. We were critical of their draft, but if they're aggressive and they work together like this, I don't think there's much that can stop them. Seraphine is pretty hard to stay alive on in solo in mid lane. Woohyun's been picked on in topside and muscle. He's farming up a storm, but he has not had the same impact that a Jin Zhao can early on.
Nope, certainly hasn't had that impact, and it can be a little tough for an Olaf, right? This is a champion that wants to run in your face. It no longer has the power that it once had when Gore Drinker was absolutely busted. So at this point in the game, he just doesn't quite have the damage he might have on 1 or 2 items. Something like the Jin Zhao could have, although Stop Amy just going to get out of that. Dashing back in is Mel Scout.
Wow.
Gonna get a flash.
That is disrespect and a half from Stop Amy. Didn't land the extended range on the 3-talon strike, but it doesn't matter. He still has a base range, man, and you can't just walk up. So 5 minutes of vulnerability for this Seraphine once again. And with Mel Scout making repeat trips to the mid lane, Stop Amy might want to pack up and leave this one pretty soon, because sure, you can shove that wave in, which gives you a little bit of priority. And maybe there's something here for Sparta Prime. They've got one Drake earlier on. This is their second, so that could be their win condition, even though they are behind in gold.
Yeah, I'm actually a little disappointed here by the pacing of, oh boy, okay, Runeweaver.
Runeweaver, nice flash away from the Zenith Blade, and Sight Zone has missed everything so far. Here comes a Ragnarok out, and Pax Sax is not there in time. Boost is here, though. He's making plays. Mel Scout's going to drop in just a second, unless he gets saved by the Taric ulti, and he will not die. Here comes a Starfall. Sight Zone's going to drop, and now the re-engage is in. It's a 3v3, clapping people together as Woohyun with a nice haymaker across the back line. Showstopper to take Indesu out of the Hextech ultimatum. The Dazzle will not connect. It's still a 3v3 effort. Flashing away over the wall is Pax Sax. AOE health bars low, and Sparta Prime looking for more, but the disengage will come through as a fight fizzles out.
Hold on here, Pax Sax still hanging around. Okay, looks like everything will fizzle finally here. What a fight. Everyone showing up here for this Drake, but I do have to say, I'm a little confused by AOE's movements here on the map. Okay, hold on. I think Stop Amy's just dead. Can he get away?
Yeah, I think he's just gone. Maybe there's Hot Feet one more. The Rock finds him, and Stop Amy. That is number 3.
Yeah, just 0-3-2. He picked up a couple assists in that last fight. Otherwise, this would be an 0-3-0. But I do want to go back to that fight, Necrox, because it was just a second Drake seeded by AOE here. We talked about the first Drake going over to Sparta Prime, and the fact that AOE was so far ahead at this point in the game that they got caught on a back timer. 3 members backing at a bad time with the Drake up. They just give it up, and then they're late to the river with wards not set up, so the TP comes in to collapse onto Runeweaver. They get an 800 gold shutdown on that Talia, and then end up in an even fight where they go 2 for 2, I believe, across the board. That's just losing for AOE after so much good early work here with this composition. I think maybe just a little bit of miscommunication about the timer and about the setup for that second objective that I absolutely think they could have contested.
Certainly should have been able to, but going even for Sparta Prime is probably a winning game for now, considering you're behind in the first place. And when we get games like this, DJ, that are so intense, people want to fight all the time, I'd love to take a moment to look where the gold has fallen. 302 on boost. His Ezreal is already hard to kill in this game, but now he's just that much harder to take down. He has extra survivability with the health that he's building and damage to boot. The other member that's getting gold here is Muscle on this Olaf. Certainly going to have trouble trying to walk into a Taric ulti, as we saw last fight. But on the other end, it's exactly who would want to have the gold. It's Indesu, 202, up 40 CS in this matchup. Runeweaver, 5-1-3, is the richest man on Summoner's Rift. This guy can do stuff with Talia, and when you give him gold, I would not put him past him to 1v9 this game.
Yeah, right now, Runeweaver's still the strongest person on the Rift here with that Leandri's Anguish and the Sorcerer's Shoes. Has a lot of penetration. We saw him just shred through Stop Amy, and he is to be feared at the moment, but we do have a lot of first items coming through here. I would still favor AOE at the moment until a couple completions come through here for Sparta Prime. Really want that second item on the Ezreal before we start to really get fighting. I think one items here on Jin Zhao and Camille are already pretty good, and Camille's, of course, is accelerated here ahead of sets. Not quite finished yet with that Stride Breaker, so still in a very good spot here are AOE. I think they can skirmish around any objective, and speaking of objectives, we have a Rift Herald coming up here in just a couple of seconds with Muscle spotted out in the bottom lane. I would hope they jump quickly onto that one, as this Cloud Drake is still a minute away, but it looks like they're more interested in actually getting the setup this time around.
Yeah, making sure your opponents don't get soul point, certainly something that AOE are thinking about. Kenny at about half HP, though, should heal up off this wave if his AD carry allows him to, but instead, here comes Runeweaver on the engage with Weaver's Wall once more. The Solar Flare's in, but the Cosmic Radiance. Runeweaver's down, though. He's the first one to fall. Sight Zone is going to be number 2 if he's not careful. Flashing over the wall, Ignite will not tick down. And Kenny Masterlin a little bit late on that ulti. Runeweaver falls, and it's a 1-for-0 for Sparta Prime.
And this is exactly what we were talking about with execution, right? Tarek has not been in the meta for a while. He has a timer on his ultimate that must be followed, 2.5 seconds to knock that down. And just a little too aggressive. It's not quite timed correctly by Runeweaver and Kenny Masterlin. He goes in on what looked like a very promising play, catching 3 members out high in the bottom lane, but they cannot get the Cosmic Radiance down in time. And as a result, your most fed member goes down right before this Drake spawns. You can see everyone here for Sparta Prime is happy to take advantage, collapse on this Drake. They will get it. Will it cost them any lives?
Okay, the fight's gonna break out now. Drake's already been secured, but Melscout with the crushing guard, buying a little bit more time. Sidestone going low, but they found the damage onto the back line. Runeweaver's gonna fall to a true shot barrage. Now traded back 1-for-1, but Boost trying to get away, will not escape over the wall. Melscout there, getting the kill on that. It is a 2-for-2 overall, but Drake's secured, and it's sole point for Sparta Prime. Muscle still looking at Melscout here with assist from Stop Mamie in the back. They've got the root, and they've got the kill.
Yeah, making a 3-for-2 in the overall fight and the soul point over to Sparta Prime. And this is the punishment for the mistake in bottom lane. We just talked about it. Losing your most fed member in the setup to the Drake means you have no positioning, means you are late to the play. Is Andesso going to die here? Yes, he is! Flashing from Muscle. Nice snag there from Stop Amy. He has turned this game around after a very rough start.
Chop, chop, baby. Muscle takes them down with a reckless swing, and they grab another kill plus the bounty off of Endeshu's head. They will have a little bit more gold to work with. They still are behind, keep in mind, but we're going to get a replay of this fight. Take me through how this one went down.
Yeah, and this is exactly what we're talking about. See, everyone from AOE just has to funnel in late. The Drake's already gone. They want to try to punish, but they're just late to the fight. And now you've got an Olaf just running through your entire backline on that one-item power spike. They don't have the damage to take him down. Yes, they pick up a couple of kills as the fight splits up. They are able to track down the Ezreal with the flash over the wall from Melscout, but that flash means he has no way out. In the extended fight, the Axe catches him, the Seraphine follows up, and Sparta Prime makes it a 3-for-2 and soul point.
Now, Jin Zhao only know in one direction, in all honesty, and that direction is forwards. Melscout had already used the ulti, so there was no extra safety for him, and they get him plus a little bit of free cash in the back end for Endesu. Is a 4-man Death Brush, if you count Boost, as he is the bait here. Their Sightstone not landed the Solar Flare. The Crescent Guard immediately used. Here comes a Cosmic Radiance. Can they get Melscout in time? The answer is no. He's buying so much space for his squad. Nice charm across a few. Root's gonna find 3 as well. Endesu now hopping forward. Sightstone at 1 HP, but Endesu may fall. He's gonna get clapped back now with a Haymaker from Woohyun. It is 2-for-1. True Shot Barrage able to find it. Melscout is too far forward, and that evens the fight now 2-for-2. Runeweaver now dashing his way out with the rocks on his back, but a close fight in the mid lane does not go either direction.
Yeah, and honestly, I'm a little surprised that was as close as it was. I think a critical part of this, Woohyun still does not have a completed mythic item here, Necrox. It is so hard to frontline, even on set, when you are this far behind, because that initial engage was a little funky from AOE. I think they got a little disjointed, a little disconnected, and the Cosmic Radiance had to be used onto just one member there in Melscout. But the combination, of course, is extremely potent. You get the immunity from your ulti, then you get the immunity from the Cosmic Radiance. That keeps him alive for so long that they're able to actually pick a couple members off. But a full health Ezreal at the end of the fight here, piloted by Boost, means you just get ticked on down, and they're able to find Melscout to even it out. It won't really change the state of the game, considering that that second Rift Herald has not been taken. Baron is now on the map, and the next Drake is not up for a minute 30 seconds. It's just a little bit of extra gold in everyone's pockets, and AOE God Squad still milking this 1.5k gold lead at the moment. A lot of that, of course, in the top side, where we see a massive CS differential as finally that mythic item comes through for Woohyun.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that one in particular, though, is the question. Trinity Force on set, not the most common of builds for the set, the Beast Boy in the top lane, but regardless, he will Maybe give Boris a thank you for that one and walk himself to this Drake, which is coming up in 45 seconds. It is priority earned in the river for AOE. Scuttle Crab is gone, so that vision is lost, but they'll clear away this pink ward, no problem. Whacking on that one by Kenny Master Lin. And I want to see Sightstone land this Solar Flare. If he can find a clean engage, they can find a target and blow him up, but Sightstone has been a little bit off on these triggers. They still end up going just roughly even in fights, but if he can land that engage, it could be a lot better for Sparta Prime as they walk into this river as a 5-man unit.
Yep, engage going to be really important, but I really like what AOE have done here. They've sent all 5 members down. They're sacking the waves into side lanes at the moment because, again, your Camille, not quite 2 items here. I think when those 2 items come in, you can start to create a side lane threat, but considering the importance of this Drake and the fact that you're not that far ahead just yet, they want to get prio on it. They want full control, and they are going to get it. It's way too early for Sparta Prime to trade out the Baron in the mid lane. Tier 1's already gone, so they should get this for not that much unless Sparta Prime just wants to have a full 5v5 here over the mid lane Tier 2.
It's a little awkward. AOE are trapped in their own jungle, but here comes the engage from Mouse Scout with a nice Cosmic Radiance. Charm's gonna only connect on 1, and no one's taking any damage. Just Taric ulti. This is the power to full-on 5v5. Woohyun's in the middle of 5 members as well, and Trinity Force does not get you out of that one, my friend. Stop Amy's gonna drop here in just a second, and so will Sightstone. 4 members for nothing. AOE with a decisive call will wipe away Sparta Prime and head straight towards the Baron pit.
Execution was the question at the beginning, and execution is the answer here in that fight, Necrox. The engage was gorgeous from Kenny Masterlin and Mel Scout, connecting with the Cosmic Radiance onto 4 and getting a 3-man stun to start that fight on the extended Taric W there. Beautiful stuff, and they absolutely punish the greed and aggression from Sparta Prime to try to trade a tier 2 mid lane turret for that Drake, knowing the entire team was around and knowing that they were at best even and at worst a little behind in the itemization. Lovely stuff from AOE God Squad, and they are the ones who strike the decisive blow, taking down 4 members and picking up the Baron. There's even an extra 3.5 minutes here on the next Soul Drake that AOE can use to bust open this map, take down extra outer turrets, and establish control in the enemy jungle. I already love what they're doing here as they have Ndesu in the top side and are grouping as 4 to place down this aggressive vision line.
I'm hoping we get another look at that team fight because it feels like Sparta Prime just didn't do anything. I know the Taric ulti is super important, but with an Ezreal, you have to be able to kite away and stop Amy. Should be assisting his team and buying enough time for it to dissolve. But instead, Woohyun still pushing up on top side for now, and Desu trading away on bot side. Now the game is base defense for Sparta Prime as AOE are looking to crack open these side lanes. A Hydra Sunderer in the bot lane here for Ndesu will crack open this base in a matter of seconds unless they can find Mel Scout and one more in the mid lane. Mel Scout's going low. Kenny Master Lin using the ulti, but they cannot find a kill before it falls. Runeweaver splitting up the team as well, and Sight Zone's gonna drop. The middle of the squad here is Muscle. Can he find a kill? No. Paxax jumping away. Woohyun cannot find anything. And it is 3-4-1. Only Mel Scout to fall. And Desu now joining the team with the TP onto the back end of the fight.
Flash?
Exhaust is in, but Ndesu cannot get in. Nice hook shot, but Boost takes him down with a nice Mystic shot to the face. And it is only 2 members versus 3. AOE have a numbers advantage plus Baron to continue pushing on.
They are going to continue pushing on here. It's just boost and stop Amy. They do not have the wave clear here, even on the AP Seraphine here. Although, wow, she's actually kind of shredding that minion wave. Still do have a cannon, though. I think this turret should be forfeit. Runeweaver can hang around and force it in. It's a nice stop here from these members of Sparta Prime, but another one fight as Sparta overcommits into the Taric ulti and gets punished once again. AOE is growing into this game. They are getting the timing right. They are getting the fights correct, and they are winning out on every single one.
These 280 carries, man, have so much damn gold to work with. Paxax almost completing his 3rd item in the Lord Dominic's. You have Boost to Success working on his 3rd as well with the Frozen Heart. There it is, fully completed now. And we're going to get a replay of this fight in mid lane and how critical this Taric ulti can be.
Yeah, look at it, just stops all the aggression here, and now the entire fight is split up by the TP coming in from Andesu. Boost is completely out of it. He tries to get back in there, but by that time, it's a little too late. 2 of his teammates have already died, and everyone else has to run for the hills. Credit to Boost here. He absolutely outplays Andesu with this flash exhaust to pick up a kill and stay alive, which does actually stem the bleeding of the Baron push. That is a huge play from him, but it is still a lost fight overall from Sparta Prime, and we can see this composition coming online here. Necrox, we talked about some of the 3-item power spikes that would be available for Andesu, for the likes of Kenny Masterland and Paxax, and they are getting closer and closer. And Desu getting further and further ahead. This split push going to be very much online very soon, particularly if they can take this Drake away once again.
Top wave is crashing here for AOE God Squad. Sparta Prime will forfeit this wave in order to keep themselves around Dragon. Gonna have to take a deep breath for this fight because it is all 10 members sitting around this river. Critical ultis. Kenny has his Cosmic Radiance up. Boost has no summoners, but Woohyun fully stacked here for the engage if they need it. Just waiting to pull this trigger. I would imagine it's from Stop Amy or Melscout to start this one off, but instead it's Andesu finding his way in, but he's immediately deleted the Cosmic Radiance onto 4. Will buy a little bit of time. Sightstone looking for a re-engage. Angle, True Shot, Barrage, not going to find very much. Woohyun's onto the back line with a nice haymaker. He's going to take down Paxax. They trade it back into Woohyun though. It is 2 for 1. A numbers advantage to Sparta Prime, and they're not looking to give this one up now. It is Drake taken down to about 4,000 HP. Rune Weaver on the side, throwing in a couple of rocks, but Melscout needs a way in. He's low, but can he steal it away? No, it's secured by Muscle. Now the fight gonna break out one more time. Ragnarok gonna be used. Sightstone going low, but Stop Amy will keep him alive. The shielding, the healing is too much to come through, and it is soul secured for Sparta Prime.
Soul in for Sparta Prime, and Cloud Soul will be much appreciated for a couple of their members, particularly Muscles Olaf here. Lovely stuff in that fight. The engage coming from Stop Amy's Encore onto 4 members was absolutely beautiful. We have heard so many times how busted Seraphine is. Doesn't matter what her numbers are. She can absolutely turn a fight just like that, and Stop Amy lands the critical blow. Another critical factor, Boost was on 3 items before that fight began. Paxax was not quite there. His items just a little bit more expensive than an Ezreal's, and Boost went godlike in that fight, was barely touched, was full HP, dished a ton of damage out, and once the couple of members were down for AoE, they did not have the HP bars to contest the Drake. Now Paxax gonna have to jump away, but they should just be able to kite this one out. And so they reset in mid lane, and Desu wants in though.
Okay, the Charm's gonna kick things off once again. Nice Cosmic Radiance onto 5 members. Melscout not taking any damage as well. Sightstone's low, and Paxax going forward, but Paxax is going down. Ragnarok now to escape with all this extra movement speed. Run into the safety of Woohyun, who looked like he wanted a recall. Support for AD carry as Paxax just gets annihilated by this Olaf. Here we go as well, and Desu wants a 1v1 exhaust, but he cannot escape the Hextech ultimatum. Flash doesn't get him to safety either, and Melscout cleans up the kill. Makes it +1 here for AoE for now, and Desu may be thinking about following up, but instead it's Kenny Masterlin that has to run away. Sparta Prime may be thinking about pulling the trigger here, but with a numbers disadvantage instead, they dissipate.
And there is that Camille lockdown that we were talking about. It makes it so that it's a positive fight for AoE, despite the fact that they initially traded down with Paxax jumping in a little too quickly and getting burst out. But we don't have time to cover what's been happening because AoE, they are right onto the Baron, but they are definitely going to get contested. Jungler running up here. TPs are coming out.
Stop Amy TPing here to the mid lane. 6,000 left on this Baron. It is a flip if Muscle can get in with his flash. There is no way to stop him unless they force the fight now. Charm lands on a 3. Stop Amy keeping himself alive, but not for much longer. And Desu's going to clean up kill number 1. Sightstone going low as well. Melscout trying to escape the pressure. If he stays alive, Baron can be secured, but Muscle is on a rampage. He'll finally be dropped, and Desu grabbing the kill into Woohyun for a double. Boost has to run, but Desu is on the chase. Hextech ultimatum available in just a few seconds, but Boost still does a whole hell of a lot of damage. Melscout, Runeweaver, Paxax, and Desu now looking for the base.
They are looking for the base, and they might just have it. They have a Tristana here, Necrox, on 3 items. They can shred through these turrets. There are still 10 seconds on Sightstone, 15 on Stop Amy, but the call is to back off here. They're going to play it safe. They are going to retreat and head for the setup onto the Elder Drake, although that is in 2.5 minutes still. That Baron did fall, actually. Who's wearing the purple at the moment, Necrox?
The Baron is gone, but I believe it's got it. Yes, Sparta Prime. It's Boost that has Baron. I think he's the only one left to have this Baron buff. Yeah, making sure he's the only one. But for now, while I get that calculated up, we're going to take one more fight replay of this Baron.
Yeah, so AOE already onto the Baron. It's going very low here. Scout actually engages, so there is no member of AOE in the pit. You can actually see Muscle goes in there and steals it away at the start of the fight, and that is why it is so split up for Sparta Prime. Muscle gets in there late. He picks up 1 extra kill, but by that time, the rest of the team is dead. Hold on, though. Picture in picture. They're going to catch out in mid.
He's just gone. Stop Baby's grabbing the first kill of the fight. The Cosmic Radiance is not in time to save the Sparta Prime jungler. Now they're looking for more. Kenny Master Lin will fall, and Mel Scout is dead. Paxax is dead, and Woo Hyun's looking to put the finishing touches on game 1, man. Stop Amy picks his fight at the right moment, and with one decisive call and with Boost wearing Baron, a 5-man ace may mean game over just like that.
Where has it come from, Necrox? Stop Amy was 0-3-0 to start this game. He's 6-5-15, and he literally just deleted Paxax off the map with the Flash E. The double root comes in, and Sparta Prime out of nowhere, they are just going to win game 1.
Game 1 is over, and it is Sparta Prime taking it out over AOE in a bloodbath in our first match. I couldn't have asked for it to go any better, DJ, because I was telling you earlier that these two teams were willing to duke it out in game 1. They did exactly that, and Boost comes up big in game 1, taking it over Paxax. We made the prediction, but now it's time for the rest of the series and how things can begin to evolve over such a long best of 5.
I am so excited here, Necrox. We have watched this series, and there were so many macro points I wanted to talk about. The Camille was scaling up to 3 items, but guess what? Neither one of these teams cared about macro. All they wanted to do was fight. It was just fight after fight after fight in the mid lane. It was Nayram to its finest, but it was so incredibly exciting. Neither team wanted to back down. Everyone was throwing their ultis at every mid lane skirmish there, and it just happened to be Sparta Prime winning one convincingly late in the game that takes over game number 1. We see exactly how close these two teams are, proving everyone here right on the analyst desk, on the pre-show, that these teams are incredibly closely matched, and I cannot wait. If this is how they're going to play game 1, I can't imagine them backing down in the games to come. We could be in for an absolute bloodbath and one of the closest series we have seen here in Excellency.
Man, these quarterfinals always bring some fun and a smile to my face. Game 1 has just completed, and it's Sparta Prime taking their win over AOE. We'll see, though, where we're headed in our future matches. For now, we're going to throw it on over to the analyst desk where I can go get some oxygen. DJ, you're going to catch up with Stingus on how this one went down and where we're headed.
Welcome back to the analyst desk. It's me once again, joined by Stingus after game number 1. And Stingus, I don't think it went down the way that we expected, but the result was the same. Sparta Prime gets their win in game number 1. But we did see a lot of fighting and a lot of positives from the AOE composition. What kind of sense can you make of all of that chaos, of all of the blood that was shed in game number 1?
That was a lot of fun. That was how I wanted these two teams to play, because they're so close, like on a skill level, player to player. That was great. That was a lot of fun. And it kind of did play out like I said. The only thing that didn't really play out was top. Top kind of just got bodied 1v1. I didn't really see what happened, but you're definitely not supposed to be down that bad in that matchup. So that was a little rough, but mid jungle played out how it should have. They kind of lost the 2v2. Mid jungle roamed around, got stuff done. And then bot was trying to 2v2, which I was surprised by, which in favor of boost, which is what would happen if they were going to 2v2. So, pretty good game. I enjoyed it.
Early game, very much going to script as predicted, and AOE did get off to a pretty flying start. There were a couple of misplays there. I think Paxax got baited into a death, but that mid jungle definitely popping off like you wanted them to, Sting. But then a couple of mistakes, right, around the Drake. The setup maybe not so good. Should they have contested at that second Drake a little better, or maybe was that not a win condition for them?
I don't think you can really contest the second Drake there unless you're getting on to boost. If you can find a fight that early in the game where you can get on the Ezreal, then that's a really good fight. But if you can't get on him, he's too strong at that point already. He already had a Sheen, and he already had AD. If you're not getting on him, he's just going to do more damage. And he got to live the whole fight.
Interesting. So maybe a mistake there in even contesting the Drake. Need to look elsewhere here in the early game for AOE. Nevertheless, even after that drop in the 800 gold shutdown off of Runeweaver, there was still so much to come from AOE. And Desu, with that huge lead, was a menace in a lot of these fights. And they just kept finding engage after engage, and eventually they started to execute them well, right? We were talking about the burden of execution, but we started to see some beautiful combinations coming through from Kenny Masterland and Andesu and Melscout as they found some of these engages. Is this something that you see happen to teams in playoff series? Because it just looked like they were leveling up as this game went on.
Yeah, it looked like they've never played this comp before. It looked like they were figuring it out as they were playing it. You could really tell, like, at the start of the game, the first, 2 or 3 Terracults sucked. And then the next 2 or 3 were pretty good. And then he had a whiffed one, and they lost the game. So if they had more practice on that comp, it would have been probably better. But because it looked so shaky, and the last Terracult or 2 didn't really work out, it showed why that comp is harder to execute here. Camille got exploded in the dragon fight. The Terracult was not on her, and then that just kind of pushed it forward.
Yeah, without Andesu in that fight, it just became a bridge too far. But I do want to talk about one member here of Sparta Prime that did turn things around, and that was Stop Amy on the Seraphine. What a terrible start to the game, Stigas. I mean, was getting absolutely gonked by Melscout and by Runeweaver in that lane. Was 0-3-0 at one point, and we turn around and at 2-3 items, just deleted Paxax and completely changed fights in the later stages of the game. What does it take from a player's perspective to be able to bounce back from that? Because it looked like he was going to be the reason they lost the game in those early stages.
Sometimes you need a slap in the face to wake up. It looked like that first gank kind of just went, oh. And then his next 2 deaths was like, wake up. And then he started positioning in fights way better because he was getting caught. His first death was really, really bad. You should never die there. His second death was when he overstayed to hit mid tower for whatever reason. And then the third death was right after his TP in the mid fight. And all 3 of those deaths were just so silly. They were just simple mistakes that he shouldn't be making. And then he didn't make them again. I think it really was just a matter of, wake up, guys. We got to play.
Now everyone better be awake, right? Game 1 is over, and what a bloody game it was. Came down to a knife's edge. Like you said, that Terracult whiff, but either team could definitely have won that game off of any sort of fight execution. A couple of kills here. One great play on a disengage by Boost there, right? And we could be looking at a different result. So everyone better be awake for this game number 2. Before we do throw it to break and get ready for that draft, Stingus, do want to ask you, as we prep for this game 2, based on that game number 1, both teams, what are you looking maybe for changes here, both in the picks and bans and maybe just in some of the execution game-wise?
I think AOE wants a comp that they don't need to win early in. They were trying to match Sparta Prime early, which they did a pretty good job that game. They definitely earned a lot of props there. Their mid jungle played pretty well early, and their top laner played way better than I thought he would. And yeah, I don't know. It's just not really their style to go that hard early. They should kind of default a little bit, take a step back, play what's comfortable. You know how to play what's comfortable. That was very clear. They were learning on the fly. They did not play that comp before. Play something you know how to play.
Okay, so a little more comfort here. A little bit of home cooking maybe is the recipe for AOE to turn this one around in game number 2. But we will throw it to an intermission before we are getting into picks and bans for game number 2. So stick around for that game that will be coming up in just a couple of minutes.